speaker is being accompanied by Sister Louisa Matthias, the manager, and Sister Susai Rani. Kindly welcome them with a round of applause. Please be seated. Faith is the fountain of prayer, and prayer should be nothing else but faith exercised. We believe that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. On this prayerful note, we will begin the prayer service with an invocation dance. I request you not to clap.
And here we are, lifting our hands to you. Here we are, giving you thanks for all you do. And as we praise and worship your holy name, you are here, dwelling within our praise. For every answered prayer,
for every answered prayer,
for always being there,
oh Lord, you're always there,
for love that hears us when we call, for arms that lift us when we fall. Oh, you have always been right beside us, leading us all along the way, and we've made it through.
we've made it through
Because of you. And here we are, lifting our hands to you. We worship you, Lord. Here we are, giving you thanks for all you do. And as we praise and worship your holy name, you are here, you are here, dwelling within our praise. For days we cannot see,
for days we cannot see,
for all that's yet to be,
so much is yet to be,
for trials we may have to face, when we'll be leaning on your grace. Oh, it will be your strength, yes it will, that saves us, your love that makes us strong. And through it all, we'll sing this song. And here we are, lifting our hands to you. Oh, we worship you, Lord. Here we are, giving you thanks for all you do. And as we praise and worship your holy name, you are here, you are here, yes you are. You are here, dwelling within our praise. Oh, yes, you are.
A reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 78, verses 5 to verse 7. He established written instructions for Jacob's people. He gave his teachings to Israel. He commanded our ancestors to make them known to their children, so that the next generation would know them. Children yet to be born would learn them. They will grow up and tell their children to trust God, to remember what He has done, and to obey His commands. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
He who has let go of hatred, who treats all bring with kindness and compassion, who is always calm and peaceful, unmoved by pain or pleasure, free of the I and mine. Self-control, firm and patient, his whole mind focus on me. That is the man or woman I love best, Lord Shri Krishna.
Verses from the Quran. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Truly in the creation of the heavens and of the earth, and the succession of the day and night, and in the ships that speed through the sea with what is useful to man, and in the waters which God sends down from the sky, giving life thereby to the earth after it had been lifeless, and causing all the manners of the living creatures to multiply thereon, and in the change of the winds, and the clouds that run their appointed courses between sky and earth. These are messages indeed for people who use their intelligence. It's a verse from the Quran, Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 164. Thank you.
Concluding prayer. Gracious Father, we thank you and ask you to be with us. We ask you to bless our students and keep them safe. Lord, we humbly ask you to bless our sisters of St. Joseph's of Tarbes and all the sisters in the school. We pray for the special guests of the day. Bless them always to be your instruments of peace. We seek your blessings on all our faculties, both teaching and non-teaching, and all our parents who have gathered here. May we be your sign of hope and love to the world. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Ms. Chitrakala Gopinath to welcome the gathering and introduce our esteemed guest speaker for this evening.
Good evening, one and all present here, and hope you all are doing well and ready to embark a new academic session. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. On behalf of our principal, Sister Mala Joseph, our manager, Sister Louisa Matthias, Sister Elsama, Sister Suzai Rani, Sister Gloria, Sister Jarani, the management and staff, I'm extremely happy to welcome you all to this orientation program, a well-anticipated day of enrichment, growth and encounter. We have gathered together as one family to thank and praise God. It's my immense pleasure to welcome our guest speaker for today, Mrs. Phyllis Farias, for having accepted our invitation to grace the occasion. Mrs. Phyllis Farias is an educational management consultant and director of Scholar Consulting Services, which offers comprehensive consultancy to schools. She has taught in prestigious schools and colleges for over 2 decades and now conducts workshops, training programs, and seminars for principals, teachers, parents, and students. She is a trained counselor for children with emotional problems or learning difficulties. She is a trained counselor for children with emotional problems or learning difficulties. She also conducts aptitude testing and career counseling. She is associated with Life Member, Indian Society of Training and Development. Life Member, Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Sciences. Respect for Life India. She is the chairperson of the advisory board, Sheila Kotwala Institute for the Deaf. Dear ma'am, please accept a token of our appreciation. Please give her a big round of applause. I kindly request Sister Louisa Matthias, the manager of St. Francis Xavier Girls High School, to present the sapling to the guest speaker. Thank you, sister. I extend my warm welcome to our PTA members, Dr. Ahmed Khan, the Vice President, Mrs. Twinkle Anto, the Secretary, and Mrs. Benny Anthony, the Treasurer. A hearty welcome to our dear parents and well-wishers. No school can work well for children if parents and teachers do not act in partnership on behalf of the children's best interests. In conclusion, we are very excited to welcome all of you to the new academic journey and look forward for your valuable cooperation. Remember, education is a journey, not a destination. Let us together encourage our children to work hard, persevere, and help them achieve their goals. A bright future is nothing more than a combination of determination, optimism, and self-assurance. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Chitrakala, for that warm welcome. I now call upon Ms. Twinkle Anto to present the PTA report.
Greetings to one and all. As a proud member of the Parent Teacher Association Committee for the year 2022-23, I'm delighted to present to you all with our report summarizing the incredible efforts and accomplishments of the PTA over the past academic year. the PTA committee members for the year 2022-23. The PTA committee members for the year 2022-23 were elected by the management, teachers, and parents on the 27th of July 2022 at 10:15 a.m. in the mini hall. Since then, we have been diligently working on several matters assigned by the management, as we were the connecting fraternity between the management, teachers, and the parents. The elected members used to have a meeting once a month or alternate month to discuss the various issues. Here are a few key highlights. Traffic commotion being the main issue during the school hours, we, the PTA members, under the diligent efforts and strategic coordination, managed and maintained the traffic, resulting in a smoothly flowing system. I thank all the students and parents who cooperated with us throughout the year. Through dedicated efforts, the PTA members successfully tackled the issue of parked vehicles around the school, effectively restoring order and ensuring a safe environment for students. Furthermore, they took proactive measures to remove unwanted vendors from the premises, enhancing the overall security and cleanliness of the school surroundings. While presenting this report, I kindly request all the parents to adhere to the clearly designated signboards indicating pickup zone and drop zone. It is essential for the smooth flow of traffic and the safety of our students that we all collaborate in following these instructions diligently. Your cooperation in this matter will greatly contribute to maintaining an organized and secure environment for everyone involved. The PTA committee members played a pivotal role during the Yuletide event. We actively engaged in various tasks, starting from extending invitations to the esteemed chief guests and inviting participation from other schools. Additionally, arranged entertaining trivia questions for everyone present there for the event, adding an element of joy to the occasion. Furthermore, we performed a group song for the event. During the sports event of preparatory and primary section, we, the PTA members, extended our helping hand to the teachers and students. This event not only fostered sportive appreciation, promoted inclusivity and understanding, but also helped to ensure discipline and character building among students. As we reflect on the achievements highlighted in this report, we are filled with hope for the future. With the continued support and active involvement of the PTA, let us forge ahead on this journey of educational excellence and collect achievement. Those parents who are interested to be a part of this PTA committee for this academic year, 2023-24, can key their names to their ward's respective class teacher. And with that, I, Twinkle Joseph Anto, will now sign off for the time being. Until we meet again, I wish each and every one of you a blessed and fulfilling day ahead. Take care and farewell.
Thank you, Ms. Anto. I now request Mrs. Phyllis Farias to kindly address the gathering. Please give her a round of applause, parents.
Good evening, sisters, and good evening and to the dear parents. I never refuse an opportunity to talk to parents. So even though you can see that I find it difficult to walk, and I apologize that I'm sitting and taking this session, but my voice is still strong, right? And I think I can reach you through that strong voice which God has gifted me with. I'd like to, first of all, start with how many of you are the parents of class 1? Just so that I can see. Okay. All right. Class 2? All right. Class 3? And class 4? Okay, I think there seems to be an equal number of parents. Maybe class 1 is a little more. All right. Class 1, the children of class 1 have moved from KG to class 1. And so it is a transition year for them. In what way are things different for those children? In what way are they different? You can interact with me, all right? In what way are things different for children in class 1 over the KG classes? You can just raise your hand somewhere. No, I can't see. I think the light is in my eyes. Can I have the lights on in the hall also so that I can see the parents? That's better. I can see you now. Otherwise, my eyes are blinded. I forgot to mention that I need to, the MC for today has been my old student. She's not listening. Yes. In the teachers training college. So I have, I think, some students here. Anyway, I was asking, in what way are things different for the children now in class 1? Yes.
Yeah. Hello. So what I feel is,
okay,
so my daughter
there
is in, yeah,
yes.
I'm here. So I'm Ashley's mom. So from comparatively from prep 1, prep 2 to first standard,
yeah.
I think in terms of portions, test, I think it is a transition stage, like you said, and kids are really struggling in terms of getting used to the big question answers.
All right. So there is a big difference. There's a jump.
Yes.
There's a jump. Academically, there's a jump.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
And they're getting used to it. So
they will get used to it.
Yes.
All right. They're getting used to it. Yes, ma'am. Someone there. Yes. Yeah. Speak into it, ma'am.
Good evening. Ma'am, actually they are finding little bit difficult, from prep 1, prep 2. Maybe I think that means a portion is very rush up for them. Because they are finding it's too much difficult for understanding also. Maybe I'm not providing tuitions for, so I'm only taking her.
Right.
So she's finding difficult in studying.
Right. So we'll not go into the academic part of it. Okay. All right. I do know and do understand that. But I just want to know that there is a transition. Sit, ma'am, sit. I'll address that. There is a transition. They have a full day class now. They have many more teachers coming in because there are many more subjects, right? So there are things which are different, which, yes, I think the school will understand, needs to understand, as well as parents need to understand, okay? And there is a transition every year. From grade 1 to grade 2, things are different, and so on and so forth, all right? So I'm basically going to be touching on some of these aspects, not just the academics, but we are going to look at this child, all right? This child who is growing now, who is different in different ways. So I'd like to start with narrating to you one of my favorite parables. And this is the parable of the pencil. You see, the pencil maker made the pencils. And before they went into the pencil box, he said, I have 5 very important things to share with you. The first thing he said was that you will be a good pencil only if you allow yourself to be held in someone's hand. Is that correct? Yes? Yeah, otherwise it's just lying around and it's of no use. But only when it's held in someone's hand, that pencil can be useful. The second thing he said, never forget that the best part of you is what is on the inside of you. You may look very pretty outside, but the best part of you is what is on the inside of you. The third thing he said was, in order to be a good pencil, you will receive a painful sharpening from time to time. Is that correct? Yes. Otherwise it becomes blunt and useless. And so it does need to receive a little painful sharpening from time to time. So that's the third thing. The fourth point was that you are going to make mistakes. You are definitely going to make mistakes. And because you are going to make mistakes, we have put an eraser on the top of you. And the fifth point was, you must do what you have been created to do. Which was? To write or to draw. Now the pencils thought about it for a while, and they went into the pencil box with purpose in their heart. Now, can this be the parable of you and me? Can it be the parable of you and me? Yes? The same 5 points can hold good for you and me. But we are going to look at it as the parable of the child. Just as the parable of the pencil, we'll convert this into the parable of the child. Anyone remembers the first point? What was the first point? Yes? I can't hear. You must allow yourself to be held in someone's hand. So my question for you is, what kind of hands are you going to use to bring up your children? What are the kinds of hands you are going to use to bring up your children? So can I have some answers? You don't need the mic. Just shout out loud. Just raise your hand and shout out. What kind of hands are you going to use to raise your children? To bring up. Let's use that word. Yes, sir? Say loud.
Experience hand.
Okay, experience, because yes, you are much older than the children and therefore you have experience. Yes?
Loving hand.
Loving hands. Yes? No, I can't. Say it loud.
Yeah, encouragement. Encouraging.
Encouraging hands. Encouraging hands.
Inspiring hands.
Inspiring hands or inspired hands. Kind hands. Yes?
Forgiving hand.
Forgiving hands. Very nice, beautiful. Forgiving hands.
Safe hands.
Safe hands. I think that's really very important.
Patience.
Responsible hands.
Patient hands. Responsible hands.
Guiding hands.
Guiding, motivating. Wonderful.
By questioning them, ma'am, what happened?
All right. So you're an involved, you'll use involved hands when you try to find out what's happening in their life. Okay? Right. So, yes, sir? Bold and dynamic. Yes, I think as parents, sometimes we have to be bold and we have to be dynamic. So we can use various different types of hands. You generally used only the positive, which I'm very thrilled about. But could it be sometimes that we also use other types of hands? Maybe authoritarian hands. Maybe hands which give a whack to children sometimes. All right? I'm not against correction. Correction is important and we'll come to that. All right? But we need to look at what kind of hands we have. Now the choice is yours. It's in your hands what kind of hands you will use with the children. I cannot tell you what kind of hands to use. This is just for you to introspect and think about what kind of hands you are going to use to bring up your children. Also, please keep in mind that the type of hands you use could change over a day depending upon the situations and depending upon the need. So at times it would have to be very loving hands which can hug the child, all right? At times maybe it was firm hands which need to be used to correct a child. But we need to think about what kind of hands we are going to use with our children. Now the second point was that the best part of you is what is on the inside of you. Am I right about that? Yes? So we are going to take a small journey, parents. And we are going into the 5 dimensions of the child. I'm going to focus on this age group of children, the 6 to about the 8 or 9-year-olds. I'm going to focus only on that age group. I'm not going down to the KG or anything. So we're going to keep our minds on this age group of children as they've entered the class 1. So we're going to go through this little journey in terms of understanding the child in the 5 dimensions. I'm going to start with the physical dimension, the physical development of the child, because that is the most obvious, what we see in front of us, right? And I think lots of little damage happens there. So we're going to look at that. Many, many years ago, there was an article written in the Time magazine entitled Fertile Minds. I write a blog. I started writing in the pandemic, and I couldn't find that article which I had thought I had kept. So I went to the net, and it is still available there. So you can always read that article. It's called Fertile Minds from the Time magazine. And this article started like this. It said, rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. And it went on to say, if we could only hear the sounds taking place in the brain of an unborn child, we would hear this astonishing racket going on. And these are the sounds of the brain cells developing and the network of connections, the synapses and the neurons developing. Now they followed through with a whole group of children after the birth of children. And they found that children who are deprived of physical activity and physical touch, their brains were 20 to 30% lesser in weight than the children who were allowed physical activity and physical touch. In other words, parents, what I'm really talking about is that physical activity leads to mental growth. Unfortunately, I think your children came right bang into those 2 most crucial years of their life during the pandemic. And they were deprived of physical activity. I used to sit in near my gate and watch the road in the evenings. And I would find adults going for a walk or for a jog. I would find dogs being taken for a walk, but no children. Children were kept at home. When children were least at risk for getting COVID, they were kept away at home. So they were deprived of normal physical activity. But it's not too late, parents. Why I'm saying this is, the article also talks about that if the child is not stimulated, the brain is not stimulated, brain cells can die out. And they may not regenerate if not stimulated. So children do need physical activity. I'm not talking about dangerous physical activity. I'm talking about normal physical activity which every child should enjoy. Because why also I'm saying this? We have very often, I go to many schools. I'm a consultant to a few schools. So I hear this a lot, note screen coming to teachers. Where if on flimsy grounds, let my child not go for PE class or not go for the games period. All right. But these are important for children. Unless they are really ill and they are really sick, I don't think we need to give in to or pamper the children that they are not going for what is very essential for them. All right. So that's one aspect, the physical activity. I just want to touch on a little bit more on this. If we look at development, physical development follows a pattern. If you remember your little children just as babies, as infants, how did you hold your child? Can you show me how you held your child? Yeah, you supported the child fully, isn't it? Which was the first muscle you could let go of? Which was the first muscle you could let go of? Yes, parents? No idea? The neck. The first muscle you could let go of was the neck. You could hold the baby. Now the baby holds its neck up. So physical development follows the pattern of head, neck, and the last muscles to develop are the leg muscles. And again from the trunk outwards towards the hands. So again the last muscles to develop are the finger muscles and the wrist muscles. I'm saying this for a purpose because some of your grade 1 children, all right, may yet be finding it difficult to actually write within those 4 lines, which are small 4 lines, all right? So it means that they need a little more physical activity for their fingers and for their wrist, right? So just keep that in mind. If your child is finding it difficult, they can play in water, they can play in sand, all right? They can crush paper, they can tear paper. All this gives them finger muscle exercises. And the wrist activities, they can color, okay, within a space, all right, which means they can use their wrist, all right. So these are important things. I'm not going into the rest of the physical development, except to tell you that as they're growing up now, that your children have very many new abilities. They can do much more with their bodies now, all right. They're running much better with a forward tilt, all right, which means their abdomen and their back muscles are strong so that they have the forward tilt. They can run fast. Earlier, they would run fast without control. Now they can control themselves. They can climb. They can do many things with their bodies. So they have new abilities. They face new challenges and they like to take up these challenges physically. But there's also a new self-consciousness. Have you noticed, say, your 3rd, 4th standard daughters are spending much more time before the mirror now? Yes? All right. So they're getting very conscious about the way they look, isn't it? And they spend much more time before the mirror. That's a new self-consciousness. They're also curious. In their EVS, they're possibly learning about their bodies and parts of their bodies. So you want to know actually what are these parts of the bodies, or part of the body. So sometimes you may find that they may actually strip and look at themselves in the mirror. Now, it's very important how you handle this. If you get angry and upset and say you're a bad girl and a dirty girl, all right, that's not true. There's nothing bad about this. It's just a curiosity to know what their body looks like. But handle it with care. It means that it's an indicator to you to talk to the child now about the development of their body, right? It's an indicator to you. And you need to be observant about it and handle it. So there's a new self-consciousness. Now, there are a couple of other things which I would like to touch on in physical development. And one is their whole aspect of food. How much food should you send with your children to school? I say this because sometimes, we think we are taking care of our children by filling up maybe 3 tiffin boxes, and what you cannot make one child do at home, you're expecting teachers to make. I don't know how many children are there in the class. Yes, sister? 60. You're making, the teacher makes 60 children do in the class. Humanly impossible. Now, how big do you think your child's stomach is? Can you show me? How big do you think your child's stomach is? Yes, sir? It must be the size of the fist. And as they grow a little bigger, maybe a little bigger. Now, if you stuff it with food, all right, what is happening is it's extending. And the fat cells are developing. So you need to give them appropriate quantities, not 6 idlis, which cannot fit into that stomach. Maybe coin idlis, but not the normal size idlis. All right? Send them something nutritious. All right? Once in a way, a little junk food is fine, because they may see other children eating some junk food, but not totally junk food. All right? A little bit of junk food once a week or something is fine. All right? Because I've seen children, they will gravitate towards children who have junk food and want to eat that food. Because, you are so health conscious, which you need to be, but once in a way, give them a little bit, which they will enjoy. Okay? So that's as regards their food. We've spoken about their exercise. Right? I'll come to their eyes and ears. Now, sometimes teachers find out before you whether the child has an eyesight problem. And they may tell you the child is holding the book too close or too far or not able to see the board. And if they tell you something like this, please take the child for an eye checkup, because an early intervention is always better than delaying it. All right? So an early intervention will help the child. More difficult to find out is their hearing loss, if they are experiencing hearing loss. And I'm not talking about total hearing loss. I'm talking about a partial hearing loss, which is more difficult to find out. One of the indicators, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just telling you, one of the indicators is if the child's speech is not clear. I'm not talking about some letters. I'm talking about generally the child's speech is not clear and you're unable to understand it, then maybe you need to take the child for an audiometric test so that you're testing their hearing. Some children may also keep turning one ear. That means they're hearing with that ear and not able to hear with the other ear. These are important things because it does affect their academics. They are unable to learn and study because they are not able to hear clearly. Now, your 4th standard daughters, I'm sure some of them, because puberty is coming earlier now, and there are cases of girls menstruating even in the 4th standard. All right, so I just want to touch a little bit on that so that you can prepare your daughter for menstruation. The first sign that one gets is that you will see some breast development. All right, if you see the breast development and a little growth of hair, that could be an indicator that the child will shortly start menstruating. That is the time where you have to prepare your child for menstruation. It should not be that it comes like a shock, and especially when it happens in school for the first time. All right, they are so traumatized sometimes. I was in the school that day, in a particular school, this child started menstruating, and the only thing she could say, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't do anything wrong. Now, menstruation and doing something wrong are not connected at all. It's just a biological fact. So what can you do? I'll just give you an indication of how to help your children with preparing them for menstruation. You can talk about a plant, all right? So I'm going to grow a plant. So what will I do? What will I do? I want to plant a seed or I want to plant a sapling. What will I do? Yeah. I'm going to prepare the soil, isn't it? I'm going to prepare the soil. And then I will plant the seed, right? Or the sapling. Now you can tell them in very simple language, you have a room in your body and that room is called the uterus, right? And this uterus, from a particular time in your life, gets ready to welcome a guest. You can tell them the guest it's waiting to welcome will be a baby. But that baby, and how does it get ready to welcome this guest? It makes a very nice, comfortable bed or cushion around its walls. You can even draw it and show. You can show them a picture around its walls. You can show them the location so that they know where the uterus is. Because we often say stomach is paining. It's not the stomach that is paining at all. All right? Because I've had children who are saying, in a particular case, when I explained it to them in a school, this child said, oh my, all right, I thought the baby grows in the stomach and I will have to vomit it out. So you can see how wrong that can be, right? So, that it making a very nice, comfortable bed or cushion around its walls, which is made up of blood and membrane and tissues. And it does all this and it's waiting for the guest. Now the guest will not come for many, many more years in your life, right? And so the uterus gets upset and it breaks down. And that bed or cushion breaks down and it comes out of your body. And that is the time you have to use some form of protection. You can explain to them what you would be using, a sanitary pad or whatever, and how it is used, all right? Then tell them that guest is not arrived, but the uterus feels maybe the next month it will arrive. So again it creates this very nice comfortable bed or cushion, and this will go on till much later in your life when the guest will possibly arrive, and that's when the menstruation will stop for a short period of time. But explain lovingly with a lot of understanding so that the children are ready for menstruation. Okay? Later, if you have some questions, I will answer those questions. Let's move on to the mental development of children, because this is another big concern of parents, all right? How many of you want intelligent, bright children? Now you see what a stupid question I asked, isn't it? Right? Absolutely stupid question. We all want bright children. It's important for us to remember that amazing development takes place in the brain by the time the child is 5 years old. 90% of the adult weight of the brain has been achieved by the time the child is 5 years old. It doesn't happen just like that. The brain has to be stimulated. And we'll see how to stimulate. And by the time the child is about 8 or 9 years old, it sort of more or less achieves the adult weight of the brain. So what this means, parents, is that we have to stimulate the brain of the child. Now, how are we going to stimulate the brain? All right? So can you give me some ideas? I'm not talking about academics at all. To me, academics is just one of those things that happen. But I'm talking about real education. All right? How do we stimulate the brain of the child? By educating the child. Yes? Yes? Who's saying that? Education, someone said. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, education. So how do we stimulate? All right, we bombard the child with knowledge. All right, we need to bombard the child with knowledge. Let's start with, just take language development. How did you learn your mother tongue? How did you learn your mother tongue? Maybe I'm going deaf because I can't hear you. By listening, isn't it? By listening. And what did you listen to? You listened to sounds as a baby. Your babies did that. And gradually the sounds began to have meaning and they became words. So by listening and speaking, and maybe you learn to read it and write it, or may not have, but you can still communicate. So it's very, very important that you actually help your child to listen and to speak before they actually read and write. By now, most of your children may be reading or beginning to learn to read, all right? I have a slogan, parents, and I wish you will carry it home. I say up to class 3, children must learn to read so that from class 4, they can read to learn. They learn to read so that they can read to learn, where they become independent. So, we spoke about listening, speaking. So, lot of conversations with your child, not just of what happened in school, but conversations. All right, you're going for a walk, you find a nice looking leaf or a caterpillar, it can be a point of conversation. Anything can be a point of conversation. Narration of stories. Listen to your children. They'll come home with a lot of stories. Listen to them. All right. So narration of stories. But you must also read out stories. Now you may say, my children can read. Why should I read stories to them? Now children's listening abilities are at any time at least 2 grades higher than their own reading abilities. I'll repeat that. Children's listening abilities are at least 2 grades higher than their own reading abilities. So you can always read out something a little higher to them. Right? So you can read fiction, non-fiction, anything. Right? But please read at least for about 10 minutes to the child every day. You have to find the time for that. There is enough time. All right? Instead of spending time on your WhatsApp or social media, grumbling and complaining about the school, I find this so strange. Every school I go to, this is an issue. That parents are on WhatsApp and not saying anything positive. The smallest of thing will be blown out of proportion and the whole group, it's not even happening to your child. But you get into that masala and you complain about some parent or something. The children will make up the next day, but the 2 parents are fighting. How ridiculous can one be? Now, this is your child's school. How can you pull down your child's school in front of the child? I don't know anything about this school, but I'll share with you an incident that happened in another school with a class 1 child. She comes to the teacher and she said, my mother has written a mail to you. Right? This is her tone of language, her body language, everything. My mother has written a mail to you. And if you don't answer it today, my mother will send that mail to the principal. We know exactly what parents are by the way the children behave. They are like mini adults. Same tone, same body language, same words. Because we are saying all this in front of children. All right? We say it all in front of children. In your days, my days, if we complained about something about school to our parents, what would they say to us? What would they say to us? Yes, parents? They would never run down the school. You must have done something wrong. I also call this, so I'm saying instead of spending time on your WhatsApp on stupid nonsense, right? If it is useful, it is fine, but stupid nonsense, spend that 10-15 minutes reading to your child. You're at least having some sort of connection. You need to disconnect to connect. If you're not disconnected, how do you connect? I know you'll get upset with me, but I really feel strongly about this because I can see the effect on children. All right. We tell them don't do this and don't do that, but we are doing it ourselves. Anyway, so read out to your children. You will find that their reading skills are developing. And when their reading skills develop, they can begin to read to learn. And that helps them. Okay? So lot of language development. Develop strong perceptions for children. And perceptions are based upon sensory activities. Let's take one very important sensory activity. Just take the very fact of eating. All right? I won't ask you to raise hands about this, all right? But I am sure that many of your children are eating in front of some device or the other. Am I right? TV, notepad, phone, right? And they are eating. Parents allow it because, you know, I'm not being involved in it. I've served them. It's their job now. Right? But just the fact, I'm taking one. When they look at their food, they see the colors of the food. Right? They see the colors. When they touch, in India I say we have the best spoons, which are our fingers. When they touch the food, it's the texture of the food, the soft food, the hard food, whatever textures of the food they are feeling. They get the aroma of the food. Why does your food not taste good when you have a cold? Nothing is wrong with the taste buds, but because you cannot smell the food. And then they taste the food. And sometimes they may hear the crackle of a papad, so they hear the sound. It's a total sensory experience leading to strong perceptions. So we need to provide different kinds of sensory experiences so that children develop strong perceptions. This is real education. This is real education. That is why teachers need to use teaching learning aids, because they're interacting, they're exploring. Right? That is behind that whole aspect of the teaching learning aids or whatever. All right? Now, children's attention span will be short. Class 1 may be about 10 minutes. Gradually, as they reach class 4, it may be about 15 minutes to 20 minutes. All right? So children need a little change of activity. You may say they can't sit in one place, they can't pay attention, but it's because their attention span is like that. Okay? Right. Maths is all around us. All right? Children need to understand the concept of maths, not just a method, because sometimes parents teach. Of course, you have to teach, but if you just teach a method without them understanding the concept, they will go through with only knowing method, without knowing the concept. Right? One girl, I realized this recently when a girl came to me for career counseling, and she said, "Ma'am, in my whole up to 10th standard, not a single teacher has taught me concepts in math. They have taught me method." Let me give you an example, simple example. We are doing addition, right? We are doing addition. And there is a carry forward, all right? 6 plus 6 is 12. So I write 2 in the ones place And what am I carrying forward to the, what am I carrying forward? 1. See, you're saying 1. What does the child understand? That I'm carrying 1. The child has to understand that I've carried forward a 10. Because that's the 10th place now. That's the concept. That I've carried forward a 10. And similarly, when this happens with the 10s and I'm carrying forward to the 100s, I'm not carrying forward a 1 to the 100th place, but I'm carrying forward a 100. That's the concept, parents. Not just a method. Automatically, okay, carry 1 there, now add this, carry 1 there. That's just method. All right? So they need to understand concepts. All right. I'm going into the social development, parents. All right? Because I need to give you time also at the end to ask any questions. So let's go to the social development. Now, social development also follows a pattern like the physical development. In the early stages, it's all about playing. And now when we come to the 6 to about the 9-year-olds, 6 to 8 or 9-year-olds, it's also something to do with friendships. I have parents who say, my child is a loner, my child doesn't have friends, or my child doesn't share. Now, at 6 to this 8-year-olds, friendships are very temporary. Your child will come home and tell you, Anne is my friend. And you'll hear the name of Anne for a few days. All right? And then it'll be, Ramya is my friend now. So what happened to Anne now? No, I did Katti with Anne. Now Ramya is my friend. So through the year, you may hear maybe 10, 15 children's names. Nothing to worry about. It's just that they are exploring different types of people and friends. Right? That's why I say, when you fight because some child did something to you, if it is serious, please come to the school and talk about it. All right? You must come to the right place and talk about it if it is serious. If a child is, hurting your child or bullying your child or teasing or whatever, if there's serious issues, you must raise it in the right forum. Not with the other parent. Because what does that make you now? If you're raising it with the other parent, what does that make you now? You become the bully. An adult bully. But if you come to the right place and raise it in the right forum with the teacher or with the principal, you will know exactly what is happening. And it can be helped. Right? So, we're talking about these friendships. They're temporary. Also, it is very one way. Why are you friends with her? She has lots of toys. Right? So, it's a one-way sort of thing. So, don't get too overly worried about the very temporary nature. They are friends. It's only after about the age of 8 or 9 that friendships become a little more permanent. All right? Even there, it's still temporary. It's only adolescence time that they really become permanent types of friendships. All right? So nothing to worry about as such. But at the same time, it's very important that you know who your child's friends are. It's very important that you know who your child's friends are. Also, please do not criticize every friend your child makes. If you criticize every friend your child makes, the child will grow up into an adult not sure of their judgment of people. Will mama approve? Will papa approve even when they are working? I have to give a loan to someone in the bank. I'm not able to judge this person. All right? Because it started earlier on. Right? So don't criticize every friend. Know their friends. Sometimes the criticisms are strange. Like, don't make friends with that child because that child doesn't do well in studies. I think that is the most traumatic thing that we can say to a child. And for the other child, what happens if everyone rejects the child, isolates the child because the child is not good in studies? And who are you to judge? Why the child is not doing? Does it mean the child is not doing well because the child comes from a poor background, or parents who don't care, or parents who don't spend time with them? What if it is your child who is being isolated and rejected? These are the type of children who come to me for counseling. The loneliness, the isolation, and all because parents have some idea of what kind of friend their child should have. And sometimes it is on ridiculous things, the color of a child, the religious background of a child. And that continues later on in life. And that is why in our country we are having all kinds of fights. But it starts there. Sometimes it's based upon the type of food children eat. Don't make friends with a non-vegetarian. Just think, parents, before you make these diktats to your children. You can tell them, don't eat that food, but not to reject or stay away from a child. All right. The other thing which is very important is what I call sibling rivalry. And I call it the elder child syndrome. Right? Generally, the elder children are brought to me for counseling with a long list of complaints. Actually, what happens is the younger one irritates the older one. Touches their things, all kinds of things. And when the elder one cannot tolerate it anymore, they'll quietly give one punch or one pinch or something. Then the younger one will go crying to the parents. And the parents say, you are the older. You are the role model. Now that child may be just 2 or 3 years older than the younger one. And we are saying, you are older, you are the role model. Don't deprive your elder children of their childhood. You are the role model parent, not your elder children. You are the role model. Be a parent. Right? Okay. We'll go into the next aspect. You remember the third point about the pencil? What was the third point about the pencil? Sharpening. Very good. I'm so happy you remember. All right. So in order to be a useful pencil, all right, you will receive a painful sharpening from time to time. So what am I really talking about? I'm not talking about punishment at all, parents. I'm talking about discipline. All right, discipline styles. The word discipline has its root word in disciple. The root word of discipline is disciple. So in other words, your children are your disciples. I mean, your children are your disciples. They're following you. They're learning their values from you. So we'll look at some styles of discipline which are not conducive, not suitable. One is inconsistent discipline. When we say inconsistent discipline, there are two styles again. One is, today I'm in a good mood. Any behavior is tolerated. Tomorrow I'm in a bad mood, the same behavior, I'm correcting, I'm shouting, I'm punishing. Now the child is very confused. Yesterday it was okay. How is it not okay today? The other style of inconsistency is and this is being followed a lot these days, is good cop, bad cop. So it's decided one parent will be the good cop and the other parent will be the bad cop. Or the devil and the Santa Claus. And roles have reversed. In our time, my time, it was, wait till daddy comes home. Now, fathers have become Santa Clauses and mothers have become the disciplinarians. Right? I think it's very unfair for that to happen, because parenting is, both parents are parenting. Right? You need to actually have conversations with each other, communicate with each other on how you want to bring up your child. Right? And I would say if one parent is correcting, unless it is physical abuse or mental abuse or emotional abuse, don't interfere. Later you can talk to your spouse and say, I didn't like what you said or what you did. But don't interfere, because otherwise the children start manipulating. For this I'll go to mommy and for this I'll go to daddy. But you are bringing up your child together. All right? So keep that in mind. The other style of discipline, which is not conducive, is inadequate discipline. I love you, my child. I love you so much. You can do whatever you want. Then later when they become teenagers, now we want to pull the rope. We want to discipline. And at that age, they are not prepared to take it because you didn't discipline them in the beginning. Every one of us has boundary lines and limits. Do we? Are there boundary lines? Do you have certain limits for your behavior? Yes or no? All of us have. Every one of us. We live by our values, which are our boundary lines. Right? So also children must have certain limits and boundary lines. And you will find it surprising that children love it when they have the limits. They know how to behave. When you give them total freedom, they don't know. Freedom minus discipline is equal to what? What is it equal to? Chaos, like our Bangalore roads. I was listening to the PTA report. They had to have people outside to manage the traffic. Why? Because people do what they want. Total freedom, do whatever I want. No, that can't happen in our homes. Children need those rules. They need the boundary lines. So I'll give you a little guideline. I think every home should have a traffic light. Now, what is meant by this traffic light? Right? Every home should have a few red light rules which are followed by every member of the family. Don't make it a red light rule if you are not going to follow it. For example, no foul language in the house. No physical abuse in the house. I must tell you this little incident which happened in one school. This third standard girl, it's a co-ed school, but this third standard, new admission into the school, has been using terrible foul language. I understand that's happening with your children also. Some of them are using foul language. Sister told me that. So the teacher sent a note to the parent that, the child is using foul language. Please talk to your child. The parent writes back saying, my child uses foul language when she is angry. So please see that she doesn't get angry. So what it meant in my mind was that someone at home is getting angry, using foul language. So the child is imitating that behavior and feels, when I'm angry, I can say what I want. Right? So we need to keep these things. So we're talking about the red light rules. And by the time your children are in the third and fourth standard, right, involve them in the making of the rules. Sit with them as a family and make the red light rules. They are stricter than you. Let me tell you. They'll make even more strict rules than you would make. And then there's the amber light. And amber light is different for adults and different for children, like a bedtime. Children need to go to bed early. How many hours of sleep do your first and second standard children require? Maybe little more than 8, your first standard child, right? Maybe 8 to nearing 10. You and I need 8. Your third and fourth standard is fine. Maybe 8 is fine, right? But they need that sleep. Can you tell me why we require to sleep? Yes? Good. Proper metabolism. I think that must be a doctor speaking. Yeah. Proper metabolism. Apart from that? Yeah, your body needs to rest. But you know what your brain does while one is asleep? Right? While one is asleep, the brain assimilates and absorbs what the child has studied. It works 24 hours, right? But the child needs to have studied, and then when the child sleeps, the brain will assimilate it and absorb it. So sleep is very essential. Plus they have to get up on time to reach school on time, isn't it? So there is no traffic jam at the gate. Okay? So sleep. All right. Then we have the green light. Green light is freedom. There you're not interfering. You must have heard the term helicopter parenting. Have you heard that? No? What does a helicopter do? Yes? What does a helicopter do? It hovers around, no? So now we have helicopter parenting, especially after the pandemic. You got so used to hovering around the child during those 2 years, now you don't know what to do with yourself. So when they come home, hover around them. Do this, don't do that, this, that, till the child is fed up of you. Right? So they need a little freedom to be who they are. And you also need that freedom to be who you are, to refuel. Right? So that is the traffic light. Now when there's a traffic light, the obvious thing will be consequences. Right? When they keep the rules or don't keep the rules, there are consequences. And consequences should be praise as well as penalties. I don't call it punishment. All right? Correction. Let's talk about it as correction. We need to praise our children, but the praise needs to be genuine praise, not false praise. We are learning a lot from America, which any rubbish is good job, which is absolute rubbish. The child will feel it's okay. Or the child will lose respect. I just did some rubbish and my mother or father saying good job. Be specific in your praise. I like the colors you used. I think you need to practice your lines. Be specific in your praise. Right? Now, when there are consequences, the children learn to make decisions. So, decision making based upon values. Okay? So, that's the painful sharpening that the child will receive. Now, what was the fourth point about the pencil? Eraser. Yes, eraser. So what will be your erasers, parents, for your children? What will be your eraser for the children? Very nice, forgiveness. I think there is nothing better than forgiveness. They are going to make mistakes. They're children. But don't say that day you did this and this, that, all that. It happened. Okay. And I can forgive them. Right? So that is your greatest eraser. And don't ever stop communication. You have to keep the lines of communication open with your children. You know, when you reject them and say, I will not talk to you because you did this or you didn't get good marks, all right, then that's a rejection. You're stopping communication. And that is a bad punishment. Okay? So that's going to be your eraser. But I have a few points there to add in terms of their emotional development. If you realize, I did physical, I did mental, I did social, and what was the next one I did? Which was their spiritual development. Okay, when we are talking about discipline, we're talking about their spiritual development, making choices and decisions based upon their values. Okay, and now we come to their emotional. Just a few points about their emotional development. One thing you need to keep in mind, if any of the other 4 dimensions get disturbed, the emotional gets disturbed. Right? But as parents, please use non-judgmental guidance. And when I say non-judgmental guidance, I mean no comparisons. Please don't compare your children to your own children, to your neighbor's children, to your relatives' children, and worse still, to you. When I was your age, that age was very different from this age. There's no point of comparison at all. And how can you say something like that? All right, so please, no comparison. Comparisons, we have that very famous saying, no, comparisons are odious. The message the child gets is, I will be loved only if I am like that child. So when their report card comes, what do we look for? What do we look for? We look at the lowest marks in some subject, not the highest marks, no? And then we will ask, even the highest marks, okay, you got 95. Who got higher than you? What difference it makes, I do not know. That's comparison also. And it's an expectation. Please keep your expectations realistic of your children. If you give me 2 minutes, I'll share an incident which happened very recently in a career guidance. I had this child for career guidance. She has finished her PUC. Now, when she was sometime in the 3rd or 4th standard, I think the teachers and parents felt that there was an issue with this child. So the parents did take her for an assessment. And it was diagnosed as specific learning disability, which in other words is dyslexia. I don't know whether you've heard the word dyslexia. You've possibly seen the movie Tare Zameen Par. All right? That's a little exaggerated version of, in movies they have to exaggerate certain things, but of this learning disability which is known as dyslexia. She's quite severe dyslexia. Both parents were in IT. Mother gave up her job just to teach this child, which was a fantastic thing, I thought. But this child, the mother every day would spend the day preparing for when the child would come home, and they would drill her and drill her and drill her. She got an 89% in her ICSE 10 stand, ICSE. Then she was put into PUC science, all right? And there also she got 83%, just through sheer drilling of the child. When she came for the aptitude test, all right, I explained the whole test to her. I found she didn't quite understand some things. So I said, should I re-explain to you? Have you followed? All right. And she said, no, ma'am, I've understood. It's okay, she said. Halfway through, after some time, I went into the room to check what was happening. And I found that she had mixed up all the tests, one test into the other, all a mess. So I again re-explained, asked her to redo. And then when the mother came to pick her up, I asked her, is there an issue? And then she told me this. And she also told me that this child can take only one instruction at a time. All right? Only one instruction. So I said, you should have told me. I would have given her step by step, all right? Instead of giving it to her all at time, one time. But the other part of it is that the parents wanted her to take up IT engineering. And I said, I cannot put that in my report. In no way can I put it, because this child cannot manage that. They said, no, somehow it will be done. And then when she gets a job, you know, they are kind there, they will hold her hand through it. She can do it. I said, see, I am giving you a report, put it into the waste paper basket if you want, but I am not going to write that. I called the girl in after I met the parent. I meet the child and then meet the parents alone, and then I meet the child, all three together. The first question the child asked me, ma'am, she said, ma'am, did my parents cry? So I said, why would they cry? Because I cannot do what they want me to do. That's what I mean, parents, when I say, please keep your expectations realistic of your child. It starts now. Some of you will think of, you know, IIT entrance test and start. There are coaching places which start in middle school. And you'll put them into that because you have decided that your child has to be a doctor or an engineer or whatever, without trying to know your child and understand your child. Please allow self-reliance. Help your child, guide your child, teach your child, but don't do the child's work. The child must do their own work. The children must do their own work. I've already told you, keep your praise genuine. And please do not bribe your child to do what they have to do. There are lots of things they have to do without being bribed to do it. We bribe in various ways. You eat your food, I'll give you an ice cream. All right? And we bribe in so many different ways. The seeds of corruption are sowed in their young age. And then later, as teenagers, they may say, I will not study till you give me that upper-end mobile or that motorcycle or whatever. I don't know what girls ask for these days. Because we have bribed them to do what they have to do. Okay. What was the fifth point of the pencil? They went into the box with purpose in their hearts. So that's really what I'm talking about, what I just spoke about. Let your children dream. Let them dream. Let them explore. Let them see that there is a wide world out there and there are so many opportunities in this world. It doesn't have to be just medicine or engineering or law or, you know, so on. There is so much available out there. I'll just share with this little anecdote I got on the WhatsApp. There are some good messages on WhatsApp, isn't it? Right? So this teacher asked the children, what do you want to be? And they came up with all this, no, doctor, engineer, all of that. One child couldn't make up his mind. So the teacher said, do you want some more time? So he said yes. So after a while, the teacher got a little impatient and said, now have you made up your mind? He said yes. So what do you want to be? I want to be happy. Isn't that the cutest, most beautiful thing? Ultimately in life, we want our children to be happy. So let's end with a little activity and I'll give you a little time to ask questions. All right? A small activity for you. Please put up your hand like this. Put out your hand like this, please. All of you. All right. Now bring these two fingers together. Okay. Sir, bring these two fingers together. Sir, in front. Not coming together, these two fingers? Okay, fine. All right. Place these two fingers on your chin. Now, if you see and look around what you have done, most of you have put it on your cheek. When I said chin. So which is stronger, parents? The visual image or the audio image? the visual. So please keep the lines of communication open with your children. And when they really want to talk to you, it means you put away everything and listen to them. Listen with your whole body to the whole body of the child. Listen with your whole body to the whole body of the child. Because sometimes the children do not have the words or the vocabulary to tell you what is happening to them. But their body language will tell you. You will know when they are upset, they have become quiet, they are withdrawn, all right? And they feel the need to talk to you. That's when you have to give them their full attention. I'll tell you another little anecdote. This happened in one school many years ago. I had taken a workshop with the children, and the children said, "Ma'am, you must talk to our parents. They need it more than us." So I told the principal. She said, "I'll arrange one. I'll arrange a session." So she fixed a date and everything. And she went to the class and told the children, "Now you have to motivate your children to come, your parents to come for the session." Which I think your children didn't do, because I think this must be half the attendance, I think. But anyway, one child was very happy. So the principal asked her, "Why are you so happy?" "My father does not listen to me." "So how do you know he doesn't listen?" "No, sister, he comes every day and he'll take off his shoes, all right? And he'll put his feet on the center table and he picks up the paper. But I want to talk to him. And he says, "I'm listening, you talk." So I talk. But one day I knew he was not listening. Right? Now, how did she know that? See, parents sometimes do this. They'll say, "Who, ha, yes, no." Yes? Right? So, she was talking and he's still doing, and she stopped talking and he was still doing the who, ha, yes, no. So she knew he was not listening. So parents, what kind of listening do you do? Are you doing selective listening? Are you doing word listening? Are you doing pretend listening? Or are you doing genuine listening? It's something you have to take care of. All right, I'll stop there. If you have questions, please raise your hand. The mic will come to you. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Either I did such a good job that there are no questions, or I have got you all upset. I don't want you to be guilty about anything. All right? That's very important. Don't feel guilt at all. All right? If certain things have happened. This is a time now to reflect and correct certain things. All right? Because this is your children's childhood.
Hello, ma'am.
Who's that? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I just want to know how important teachers play in kids' life, because sometimes my kid come to me telling some few complaints, and she doesn't go directly to the teacher because she's scared talking to her. She tells me to tell it through a message or through a call. I don't know why. I tell her, you go and talk to her.
Which class is your child in?
She's in 2nd standard.
All right. Okay.
This she has been facing from last year, and she's too scared. First of all, my child is a little insensitive and she's too this thing. And then when I tell her so that she go talk to the teacher, she opens up, then she's like, no. Then she step back and said, no, mommy, please don't tell, because teacher will scold me.
Yeah, now it's very important. A teacher plays an important role in a child's life. I do agree with that, all right? But I don't know exactly the situation and why your child is scared, all right? Maybe you need to have a chat with the teacher. Because if it has started in class 1, then the teachers have changed in class 2. So it is just some learnt behavior which is coming into class 2. So I would suggest that you actually have a chat with the teacher, not to complain, not to anything, but to share your child's personality with the teacher. So the teacher also understands the personality of the child. all right? And why the child could be a little more sensitive maybe than other children. That would help the child, okay? Right.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful session.
Where are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for this wonderful session. It's really helped me a lot, and I'm sure it's helped a lot of parents here.
Yeah.
I just have one issue, which for one of my children, and she's not in primary. She may be in middle school, but she's taking money.
1 minute, ma'am. If the child is in middle school, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm taking a session tomorrow morning, which is going to be different from this session.
Okay.
So I would really advise you to come for that session.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
Because it's going to be I'm going to be talking about tweens and teenagers, particularly.
Okay.
That age group, okay? Tweens are the stage between childhood and adolescence. So if any of you have children in that age group, please come, all right?
Okay.
Because it's a different talk that I'll be doing based upon that age group of children.
Sure.
So hold on to your question, ma'am.
I'm just wondering if, my sibling, her sibling, would do the same thing. So, I'm just...
No, just say it again.
No, I'm just wondering if her sibling would do the same. So it could come to primary as well.
All right,
so
tell me what it is, since you've raised it and you're worried about the younger one. Yeah.
So the issue is that she's taking money from home to buy stuff without asking.
The elder one.
The elder one.
Right.
So how do you stop that?
Okay. Now, when she asks you for something, has she asked you for money earlier? Ma'am, I'm asking you, has she asked you for money earlier?
Yes, she has.
And what was your response?
So sometimes I would give and sometimes I wouldn't.
All right. So it would be good to ask her for what she wants it. All right. And make that discernment of whether she needs it or doesn't need it. All right. So have a conversation with her on, all right, your needs are met. All right. Your needs are met. Sometimes I'm able to give you, but sometimes I'm not able to give you. All right. They need to understand that you have your own objectives and values in bringing up children, all right? And I may not give you the same things that other children have, all right? On the other hand, sometimes children are treated by other children. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
They'll buy something and share it. So she may have felt the need to do it, to share with her friends, all right? And if at that stage you said no, then she may feel, I could be teased about it or isolated, because it could be a cause of some saying, it's your turn now, and she's not getting the money. So check out, all right, if something like that, so that you're able to give her the money.
Thank you, ma'am.
Or not give her the money, all right?
Sure, thank you.
I'll just like to share with you, parents, I recently touched on this issue. I write a blog, all right? Since it came up, I'm mentioning, I write a blog. I started writing in the pandemic because I missed my workshops. So I'm available on Medium, right? I'm available on Medium. And if you type my name, Phyllis Farias, I'll give you the spelling if you want. It is Phyllis, Farias, Farias. You'll get all my old blogs as well, right? And it's available on Medium. In my last blog, I have touched on an issue like this, ma'am. All right, on an issue. I generally touch on issues to do with children and parents and teachers. Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Actually, when you talk about the physical education and everything, I can understand.
The physical development.
Yeah, physical development. But what is happening is, nowadays, my daughter is studying first standard, the portions are huge, and even in the school, the physical education is not happening. So before that, I used to take her every Saturday and Sunday to the park. Now she is overloaded with the portions, and also since the school is not picking the physical education classes, she is not even willing to come for the physical activities. How do I handle it?
So I would say, I don't know what's happening in school, all right? I think sisters are here, they should take note of that, all right? But try and find at least 10 minutes to 15 minutes every day at home to do something which is physical. It could be something like just putting on some music and dancing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you all can dance as a family, or you can go for a little walk. That also helps, all right? Some physical activity just for 10 to 15 minutes every day. We can find that time, sir. All right? I don't think children of this age, class 1, should be studying more than half an hour per day at home. All right? I personally feel that. And gradually to class 4, I think not more than an hour per day at home. All right? That is just setting the trend for later, maybe studying for little longer hours. But I think children need the physical activity. Find the time, sir. Just 10 to 15 minutes.
Also, I take this opportunity to the school, please, for the class 1 also, please start the physical education.
I didn't understand that, sir. Physical education?
I mean, the sports activity for the children's.
Excuse me, ma'am. Parents, I request you to kindly address your concerns regarding the session that the speaker has touched upon. Any concerns regarding school matters, we have the suggestion box outside. You can write your suggestions or concerns on the slips of paper and place them in the suggestion box.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Who's speaking?
I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is the mother of 2 daughters.
Okay.
I have 2 issues to discuss about. So for the first issue is my elder daughter is in 10th and the other daughter is in 3rd standard. So, to be a very short thing, I can say both are Tom and Jerry.
Both are?
Tom and Jerry.
Okay.
To give an example.
Okay.
They don't
All
get
right.
along at all.
Okay.
And as the day passes, it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to handle that and I'm not able to understand what's going wrong.
All right.
So that is one issue.
I did speak about that sibling rivalry and the intolerance. I think I did not mention how to handle it. All right.
Yeah.
So when the children come to you with a complaint, don't become an umpire.
Okay.
All right. Don't become a referee or an umpire. Say, I've listened to you, and now between you all decide the punishment.
Okay.
All right. Between you, you decide the punishment, who is to be punished and who does not. I am not involved, but I have listened to you. And I know what is right and what is wrong, but I want you to decide what that is.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
That helps a great deal, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second issue is regarding my second daughter who's in 3rd.
Yeah.
She's missed her UKG, the basic education, the phonics and stuff.
Yeah.
Now she's finding really tough to cope up. Though I have put her in tuitions and some certain classes too, and since in the school they are not able to give individual attention because the strength of the class is really high.
Yeah.
And I'm really finding it tough. She's not able to cope up at all.
Right, ma'am. This, I think, will need a little more understanding. I cannot just answer you that question.
Okay.
If she has missed out on her basics of learning to read.
That
right?
is because of the pandemic.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Online,
so
yeah.
I would suggest try and focus on that.
Okay.
All right? Because if that is not dealt with, it will become worse and worse.
And her attention span also is really, really
Right.
bad.
So I'm not sure, ma'am, whether you need to take your child for an assessment or no.
Okay.
All right? If you really find the child is finding difficulty in reading, she's mixing up letters,
Yes, of course. She
mirror
is.
images, all right? And even in writing is reversing letters or words and
Okay.
things like that, then I think maybe taking the child for an assessment would help.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. I think that we should close. Yes, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Actually, my daughter has, I don't know if I could call it as a morning sickness. Before even coming to the school, she keeps throwing up. She vomits every day, ma'am. So I tried to take her to the doctor and she said everything is fine with her, and still I couldn't understand why she does that.
The doctor has checked her?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Which class is she in, sir?
First standard.
First standard. Possibly it's that transition. Was she doing this in the lower KG and upper KG too?
Yes, she was doing that, yes.
All right. Then I think she may need some help in this area, sir, because it's possibly something that is stressing her out.
Okay.
All right. So she may need some help through maybe a counselor or something. All right. But go to a counselor a pediatric counselor who deals with younger children. All right. Who may use play therapy or sand therapy or whatever to find out what is troubling, or art therapy to find out what stress the child is going through.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I think we'll close, no, Patricia?
Thank you, Mrs. Farias, for your enlightening words and insights into the challenges faced by our children today. Thank you, dear parents, for your active participation in the interactive session. As Jane D. Hull rightly said, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. Before we end, parents, I have a few announcements for you regarding the parent-teacher meeting. Parents can have the opportunity to meet with the teachers on the second and fourth Saturdays of each month from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon. If you would like to inquire about your child, please provide advance notice to the class teacher in the calendar, and appointments will be arranged accordingly for your convenience. Regarding No Bag Day, the school offers various opportunities for students to enhance their creativity and emotional well-being. A comprehensive platform incorporating arts, crafts, and play is essential for children to learn joyfully. To achieve this, the school has implemented a No Bag Day in its educational system. Each month is exclusively dedicated to nurturing the non-academic and co-curricular aspects of a child's development, making learning more enjoyable and holistic. Regarding the concert, your child will have an opportunity to participate in a concert that will be held in December this year. Games and sports. The school promotes participation in games and sports, so please ensure that your child actively engages in them. Robotics classes are currently underway, aiming to boost students' comprehension of technology while nurturing their problem-solving abilities. Students are motivated to investigate inventive concepts and surpass the limits of what can be achieved, fostering a spirit of creativity and curiosity. PTA. Parents who are interested in joining the PTA can submit their names and contact information through their children by the end of by the end of next week. Subsequently, elections will take place on a specified date. Now it is time to express our gratitude. I invite Ms. Jennifer Anil to propose the vote of thanks. Please don't leave, parents.
As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not in words, but to live by them. John F. Kennedy. A very good evening to everyone present here. On behalf of the principal, Sister Marlo Joseph, Louisa Matthias, the manager, the management, and the staff of St. Francis Xavier Girls High School, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this evening. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Mrs. Phyllis Farias, for being with us today and enlightening us with your commendable talk. Ma'am, we will surely remember your parable of the pencil, of allowing yourself to do the best, to be sharpened when needed, to know the best is inside us, and to erase our mistakes and to correct them. A special thanks to all the sisters for your presence with us this evening. Dear parents, I would like to thank you, each one of you, for taking time off your busy schedule and being with us today in making this event a successful one. I would like to extend my gratitude to the management for their constant support and guidance. I thank all the teaching and non-teaching staff of the SFX family for their dedication and cooperation in organizing this program. With God's abundant blessings and grace, we are able to make this event a successful one. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Ms. Jennifer, for expressing our heartfelt gratitude. And with that, parents, we come to the end of this Parents Orientation Program. We hope you found the evening informative and engaging. Please remain seated until our guest speaker has left the auditorium. Once again, thank you all for your presence and active participation. Have a pleasant evening ahead.